Hello, friends. Welcome back to From Religion to Woohoo. This is your host, Angie. How are y'all doing today? So, coming back at you, of course, with some intuitive messages. And one of the things that keeps popping up in my head is the grief that comes along with healing. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today on this episode. Before I get started, though, I do want to shout out about a couple things going on. One, I'm excited to announce that I now am a teacher on Insight Timer. If you don't know that, and I'm not doing an ad for this, I just really love this app. I've been using it for many years, and I just highly encourage all of my people I work with to download it. You can use it for free, but I do purchase it. But I am a teacher on there now, and I'm pretty sure my teachings are probably free, but some of my meditations will be on there. I did some sound healing as well on there. So really short and sweet sound healing meditations, and then some of the healing meditations are a little bit longer, but just a shout out for that. And then I also, on my website, I have some meditations you can purchase and just download and keep. So that is an option for you. And I'll put the website address in the description today, but is leaflessons.org. And then I am working on another course. I am going to repeat this 6 weeks course. The women I have in it right now are just marvelous. I adore them, and I cannot wait to see what happens in their lives. And the thing with healing and manifestation is you don't always see things in like just immediate. I think that the spiritual community and manifestation community and stuff sometimes will leave out the part of like having to realign your energy and adjust your energy and rid yourself of like trauma cords that you have in your body. And so give yourself patience and time as you are seeking out new in your life, and don't like give up. Like there's a lot, and I just realized I just said like a whole many times. That made a lot of sense. I still need to drink my coffee today, by the way, just so bear with me. But what was I saying? I just totally got off track. Yeah. So apparently that was just a tangent I was going on because I just can't talk and I can't remember what I was talking about. And maybe it'll come back. But anyways, so, okay, it came back. Like for myself, there's a lot of things I want to see, like, kind of birthed into my life, but there's always a birthing pain that usually comes with the process of birthing something. And so if we're patient with ourselves enough to allow the birthing pains to push us into the purpose of what we're doing it for, and usually what I like to encourage people to do is just try to find their like soul purpose. It's really hard, especially here in America. Like we're so focused on like how much time we work. We put a lot of time in serving other people through our jobs, and they kind of control everything. They control what kind of insurance we get. They control what money we get. They control what times we work. They control all this stuff about ourselves. And you know, this is how the society function, and it's not like completely a horrible thing. However, I do think there's a lot of people stuck in, you know, their daily jobs or in their life, and they're just not fulfilled. Like there are some people that are fulfilled in that place, but there's a lot of people that are not. And the people that are, I believe, people waking up a little bit more into their intuition, into their spiritual calling, into their divine purpose on earth, they're going to start to feel more and more uncomfortable with the things that are not aligned with themselves, and they're going to want to move towards things that are aligned to themselves. And I actually have a couple women I'm working with right now as one-on-one coaching who are really moving forward in their calling. And I love watching people just blossom. I just love it. And, I mean, they're just gonna like pass me up like any day. They're just doing so good. I'm so excited for them. But, I think what we have to be careful about is comparing ourselves to other people as well, because we don't know what's going on in the background. Like, I can look at another podcast and be like, gosh, they're like killing it, and I am not. Or I could look at somebody else's coaching business or spiritual business or healing business, and I'm just like, gosh, I'm not at that place. Well, I'm not, because I haven't been doing it as long, first of all, but also because like I'm still working on aligning myself. And I know that the more I do that and the more I align myself and release some of these traumas I've been talking about for the last several episodes, some of this energy is going to just come back into place, and it's just going to, like, I fully believe that it will become more natural for me to live out my purpose. But there's this birthing pain that comes prior to that, where you have to allow yourself to go through the process of getting there. And we can't compare ourselves to other people. We just can't. So, coming back into like this topic of grief and healing today, I'm not really talking about the grief of loss of like a loved one or like death or anything like that. I can do another episode on that. But what I'm talking about today is the grief of acknowledging trauma, the grief of realization, the grief of letting go of old patterns, people, things, and there's mostly always going to be a process of grieving when we grow and when we expand and when we move to the next level in our life, because many times we spend so much time in one area in our life, in one place, that's where we get familiar with it. We say, for example, like we're in, I don't know, what keeps popping up for me is like living in an abusive relationship. And at first, these relationships usually are okay. I believe that a lot of people, both men and women, kind of ignore red flags in the beginning of relationships when they know that they're not compatible or they're not meant to be together. And then they just kind of want the fairy tale story, and so they push themselves into this, and they pick out all the positive moments, and they try to live on those for a little bit, and then after a while, honeymoon phases always end, and then things just kind of don't go well. And whether that's like an actual abusive relationship, like domestic violence or aggression or anything like that, maybe even abuse, like what we experienced in my family. But it's easy to ignore our own intuition and our own red flags and just jump into something because we want it so badly. Now, if you're in this, there's no shame, because it takes a lot of growth. It takes a moment of allowing yourself to really understand these patterns, because a lot of the patterns we have are based on what we've grown up with or what we've been programmed to believe about ourselves and the world. And so we can become full of shame when we look at these areas in our life thinking it's our fault. And, the more you grow and the more you heal, there are points where it is a choice. Like, there's that saying of like, do it once, or I can't remember exactly right now what it is, but like you do it once and it's a mistake, you do it twice and it's a choice, kind of a thing. However, like, yes, that is true. However, I'm going to challenge that just a little bit, because I know that in my own life, I repeated the same cycle many times, not just twice, not just 3 times, not just 4 times. Like, it was a pattern. It was repeated over and over. And the reality of it is I didn't even know. I did not even know it was a pattern in my life. I didn't know what caused it. Didn't know why I was doing it. And it wasn't until I had my spiritual awakening in 2016 that all of a sudden, like, clarity came over me. And I started to see all these patterns. I started to see how I was showing up. I started to see what I was doing in relationships and in my life, and like how I was causing harm to my own self a lot of times by what I was doing. And but I didn't have that awareness before. I mean, there was like cues, and I'm sure if I would have been in touch with my intuition, I could have been able to see that. However, I was not. I was, and because of, I'm going to go back to the religion aspect, because I was always looking outside of myself for answers. I was always seeking something outside of myself through religion or from God, or like praying and seeking out deliverance and like asking other people to pray for something to go away, I just wanted to be better, but I didn't know what better meant. I didn't even know what it looked like. And at times I still don't. Like, as I am still healing, sometimes I'm like, gosh, I don't even know what it feels like sometimes to be in a different place than what I am now, because I haven't ever been there. And so we have to give ourselves grace and patience and kindness as we move through this process of healing, because we can get even stuck in that, into victim mentality, where we always think, well, gosh, I'm never going to get better. This is where I am, and, I just give up. But if you really dig in and you get in touch with your own spirit, there's never a point where anybody should really truly give up. Like, because you can evolve, you can make it through. So I just bring up these examples to help if you are in a process where you're starting to wake up and start to see patterns in your life. Don't allow that shame and guilt to come on you, because that's going to like really cause you to pause in your growth, I think. And I'm 100%, I have a lot of shame and guilt in my life, and I know it comes from trauma. It comes from mostly like sexual abuse trauma. And so that's why I'm really working on healing it. Like, there's a lot of times I just want to give up, because I'm just like, gosh, this sucks. It doesn't feel good. Healing is not a fun feeling. However, when you get to that point where you've released something, it is. And so that's what keeps me pushing. And so I want to encourage you to keep pushing. However, coming back into this grief part of the healing process, is we do have to leave parts of ourselves behind that are familiar and what have maybe protected us in the past or caused us to feel somewhat of a security. And what I'm noticing in my own life is, as I'm healing and growing and expanding, I am seeing that things and people, mostly people, are starting to drop out of my life. And at first, I've talked about this in earlier episodes about how I would chase people and like try to convince them that they needed to like me. Oh gosh, I am so thankful for how far I've come. But I've had this happen in the recent months, where like people I've known my entire life in childhood, like friends and stuff, like just suddenly were like, I don't think that we're going to be friends anymore. I feel bad. I do. I miss them. I'm sad. Like, I think of something, like, or something pops up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to send this to her. And then I realize, oh wait, we're not friends anymore. And it sucks, because I have those moments, and then I really have to let myself get into this moment of grief where I'm like, gosh, that sucks. But I also remind myself that I have another really great friend in my life who lives very far away. She lives in California, and I'm in the middle of the U.S. and Kansas. And we literally only knew each other for a year in college. Like, we were babies, like 17, 18, 19, and we knew each other for a year, and just, I don't know, our spirits were, I think she's just like my soul sister. But we went many years without talking and out of alignment, because we were just on like different paths in our lives. And I was hurt for a long time by that. But I came into this understanding in the recent years, as we came in and out of this like friendship, like I call her my best friend because she has been through, even in the quiet times, like she's been through it with me, and we were able to come back and talk about that. But what has been amazing is, like, as we're back in alignment, and we're not perfect, we're not alike, we are nothing alike. I'm just gonna say that there's a lot of things we are alike, but we're not anything alike. So but we understand each other on a level that most people don't get. Like, we just get each other. And so I learned in this process that I just have to trust the journey. And I always go back to my book, The Leaf Lessons, where the leaf just rests and trusts the journey and tries not to fight against it. Because as these people move out of my life, if I'm continuing on my journey that is meant for me, then either one, they're going to realign with me if they're following their journey in healing and they're meant to be on my journey, or I'm going to find new people that are going to fill those voids and places in my life. And I have to trust that. And I see that happening in many ways where I'm being aligned with new people in my life, and some of the old are leaving, and I miss them dearly. Like, there's several of them that I was very close to, and I hope that we realign. I hope we come back together. However, I have to let myself grieve that and let it go, because if I don't, then I get stuck in that part of my life and I don't move forward in what else is meant for me. The other thing that we can grieve sometimes is the fact that we have to kind of set more boundaries in our lives. And if you've never had really good boundaries, like I did not, boundaries are hard to put into place when you are a trauma victim, especially because you have this fear of abandonment or fear of rejection or fear of like failing people. And that's where a lot of codependency comes in, because you want to make sure everybody's okay around you. And codependency gets such a bad name and rap in the world because it causes the people in the relationship to not align. But codependency is a form of protection. And so being able to see that for what it is, and then allow yourself to release it, but also release that grief that comes with it when you have to release those parts of your life that don't keep you in healthy boundaries with yourself and other people. And it's hard because it's like like the adjusting of your mind and your energy can feel daunting at times, and it feels impossible sometimes. However, the more you release things in your mind and your body, the easier it gets. And I really think some of this, if you were in religion at all, if you went to church, if you were especially, I'm going to say it right now, especially evangelical, you understand how there's this kind of a force of this is what is expected of you. This is how you show up. This is how you live your life. And when you are in that, and then on top of it, you have trauma that also makes you feel bad. It's just like compounds together, and you're in this place of like, either you are trying to be good enough for other people around you, or you're trying to get other people to be like you and believe things that you believe. And I'm running into that all the time as I progress. I don't even call myself a Christian anymore. Like, there's a lot of people that talk about like progressive Christianity and stuff like that, but I'm not, I don't know. Like, I don't know that. I mean, I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't understand it, but I really have just released that title and have come into the understanding that I can be me. I can love this divine God being thing that we are created out of. I can love Jesus. I can love Buddha. I can love like Allah. I can love the teachers that were before us, and still understand that I have a intuition and spirit inside of my own self that I can seek. Like, I don't always have to go outside of myself to find answers for healing or guidance. Like, I can find that within myself, and that's why I meditate every day. So when you're leaving behind all these things in your mind, whether that be from trauma, religious programming, relationship patterns, like all this stuff, you're likely going to feel sadness in some ways, because when you love something or somebody or feel an attachment to it, there's always going to be a moment of like, it's like you break the cord and you feel it. Literally, you feel it in your body, in your ego. And a lot of people talk about like soul ties and stuff like that. And I don't know a lot about that. I would have to research and do more study on this. But like, people believe that people have like soul ties before they come to the earth, and then they find each other. And in some ways, I think that's true. I think that my best friend and I are like that. I think that we were, meant to be together on this earth. I think that I was meant to find my therapist. I feel a spiritual connection with her. I feel spiritual connections with a lot of people in my life. But I also understand that like there's a separation of me and them, and that I have to keep working on myself. And sometimes, I cherish these relationships and these roles of people in my life. But I can't get myself caught up in what their role is too, if that makes sense. Like, I have to stay in my lane kind of. And prior, when I was still struggling a lot, like I wasn't so good at that. So I've had to allow myself to go through this process of letting people go and letting things go in my life that were patterns that have not always felt good. So if you were in a moment, I want to talk about so much more of this, but I'll just end it like this. If you were in a moment of healing and you feel grief come up because of it, just know it's normal, and let yourself be sad. Let yourself feel it for a moment. If it pops up over and over and over again, let yourself be sad again. Like, I still feel sad. Like, there's one particular person in my life that kind of ghosted me. Like, I still think about that friendship. I still miss it because I think about the good times. But then I have to remind myself, like, gosh, I can't hold on to something that's not aligned for me right now. And maybe it will be in the future. But I can't allow myself to stop where I am now because I hope for that, So just be kind to yourself, be nice to yourself, allow yourself to be where you are without trying to fix past or future. Just be in the moment. And really, if you have a meditation practice, just turn inward. Like, get on my website and download some of those meditations and use them, and reach out and let me know how you're doing too. Like, and if you want one-on-one coaching, or if you want to join my next 6 weeks course, shoot me an email. My email is on my website too, and we'll get you in it. Like, I just really want to support all of you in your journeys. So I will leave it at that. I wish you all the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is that you listen to this. I send you all the universal love that there is. Namaste.